I'm not sure how long he's been with the city, but it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
The mayor started out working up with the physical plan at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah.
And then he got on the city council back in the 80s and early 90s. I'm really generalizing here. And then he ran for mayor, and this is your third
Yeah.
term, I believe. And he has been doing a wonderful job. He has, during his time as mayor, he's had little help from the citizens, I think, but he has really, really pushed hard. And the city of Fayetteville is one of the best developed parks and trails programs in the state, as far as I'm concerned. And he has put the city of Fayetteville on the map as one of the most desirable cities in the U.S. in which to live. Which is good and bad, I guess, depends on your view, because folks really want to come here. So I asked him to come this evening, and him and Peter, and talk a little bit about the city of Fayetteville's energy plans energy plans for the future, and the no emission, hopefully the goal of no carbon emissions in the future.
Yes, we're working on that.
Yeah. So anyway, if you
Sure.
would turn over to you, Mr. Mayor,
Sure,
and
you bet.
thank you very much.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. I know that the Sierra Club has always supported me in any election I've ever ran in. This goes all the way back to 2000, which has been a while. But y'all do a fantastic job, and it's just, you know, we're over the last few years, one of the things that I have always been a proponent on is keeping the air clean and the water clean, and preserving urban forests. And this is something that we put together an energy action plan. Peter's going to go through some of that. We've come a ways. Peter's done a fantastic job for the city. John Coleman was great sustainability director. Peter's been a great sustainability director for us. I've been fortunate to have two really good ones. And Peter and I have worked together on a lot of projects in the last, 5 years, Peter?
A little 5 years, yeah.
But, gosh, it didn't seem that long.
Time flies.
But it does. But some of the stuff that we have worked on doing is alternative transportation. And I mean, you've got the numbers. We have a handout that we've given you what the percentages is. We've got a new recycling program that we have just finished. We have preserved, while I have been made about 620 acres. We've worked on that project, alternative transportation, the trail system that we have in place. I think we have now, Peter's at about 100 miles of multi-use and soft trails in the city.
Yep.
So we're very proud of that. We had the first streamside protection ordinance of any city in the state, which was 2006. No, it was later than that. It was 2009.
8 or 9 maybe? Before I started.
10, somewhere along in there, I can't remember. But I know Sarah Lewis now, so it was after I was mayor. I think it was in my first term. I think it was 2011, now that I think back on that.
Again, time flies.
Yes, it does. 2006, we worked on our first trail system. And I was on the city council when we voted that first funding of the trails, which has been quite an accomplishment. We have done a new recycling program, which we're 40% diversion rate by
2027.
Yeah, that's our goal. We're into getting us off the fossil fuels, alternative. We do that by the alternative transportation. We do that by getting into the wind and the air and the solar panels. Well, I think we talked about this morning, 20% of our park is, we get our energy from solar panels. Is that
20% of the new regional park.
Yep, in the new regional park. We got an electric charging system. We got 9 total, one from the city. I mean, and then the rest of them, other businesses across the city. We've got 8 or 9. We're interested in that.
Car chargers?
Yeah.
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 Are those 110 or 220?
Most of them, I believe, are 220. The one we have across from City Hall is 220, and then, you know, like Superior Nissan has one, Whole Foods, Ozark's Electric, University has two, and a parking garage on campus. I believe they are all 220.
And on the bicycle end of it, then we're like a silver, we're a silver bicycle city.
So we're bicycle friendly community. We have
I think that's there's only one, or is that the highest one in the state? Or?
there's a couple other bronze communities in the
But
state.
we're the only silver one.
And we have also have the highest number of bicycle friendly businesses
Yes.
in the state of Arkansas and
Yes.
Fayetteville.
I know we talked a little bit about PACE. That was some legislation that I supported back when John Coleman was sustainability director. And we lost the first round. We came back and we won the second round. And we have adopted 2009 building codes, which I think I don't know if anybody has done 2009. And then we tried to get 2009 statewide, which, anyway, we tried. But in our energy action plan, it lined up with the Paris Accords that we believe in. Of course, I've always believed in climate change and global warming. I don't think there's anybody in this room is surprised at my positions on that. We have an urban ag right ordinance where our foods are grown locally, which is important. What am I leaving out?
Our invasive species ordinance, the city passed.
That one, we passed that one.
2014 or 15?
I can't remember, Peter, it's
Yeah.
all.
I think it
Trails was
15.
2006, and the streamside protection was 2011, and
Yep. So
building codes was along by 2011, somewhere along in there. And we're looking at those possibly again. There's something else we're working on. Oh,
welcoming city.
the what?
Welcoming city.
Yeah, we're working on the Welcome City, which is bringing folks from other countries, immigration. We're rolling that out, taking public comment on that. If you're interested in that, I've taken a position on DOCA. I support DOCA. I always will. Because I believe that people that have spent their life in this country, and this is the only country they know, I do not think it's fair to move them, to take them out and move them back to a country they've never been.
And the wildlife ordinance, the wildlife protection,
Talking about the sustainable landscape ordinance that the city passed. It allows for naturalistic landscapes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
that too, yeah. The one that's next to the restroom downstairs in City Hall.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Aubrey. I forgot about that. That's from the, help me out.
National Wildlife
National
Federation.
Wildlife Federation. We are a certified city. And we were the first one in the state of Arkansas, I think, to achieve that.
We're also
Yeah,
the first
only
city-
one.
Yeah, I guess we've been the only one.
First and only city, to my awareness, to sign on to the Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Challenge.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right, Mark.
yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I've signed on to that. We're working on, what we're doing with like our roadways, where you see that we have put the berm in the islands along our roads, that we're planting that in milkweed. And on our trail system, we're trying to do that. And that's something that, thank you, I had forgotten about
Yep, we
that.
got landscaping outside of several city
Aubrey had
buildings
been
as
after
well.
me for several years to look into that, and so, I saw that we could sign on with the mayor, so we did. We are also, in the top 5 of cities that people want to live in, which you should say that's a good thing, or, and don't have a lot of folks moving here, but folks want to come here and live, and, there is the box around the city which defines our growth areas, crossover road on one side, Woodville Road on the other, and then we bring in the infill, instead of continuing to sprawl. We are working on our drainage issues. We're working on the stormwater utility, which is, we're taking public input on that right now, which is something we will be looking at. Taken to the council, probably, it'll probably take at least a year to get that all.
Which is not just, it's not just about dealing with stormwater, it's also water quality.
Yeah.
Has water quality benefits associated with it as well.
Water quality and the erosion that's been caused by the runoff and things we're trying to combat that. Trying to think of anything else. I know that I was asked a question about pace and very supportive of that.
And you said you were getting commercial participation, but not so much
Yeah, there's something to
residential?
do, we had some trouble with getting the residential going for a while.
So, yeah, I am the staff liaison to the city's energy improvement district
Why don't you come
board,
on
which
up?
manages PACE for the city, and the PACE is available not just in Fayetteville, but also we've expanded to now include Springdale.
I'm sure we all know what it means, but we always call it acronym alerts.
Sorry,
PACE.
Property Assessed Clean Energy.
Yeah,
It's an
sorry.
energy financing tool that allows property owners to borrow money to do energy efficiency, renewable energy, water efficiency improvements to their property, and then they repay the loan for the improvements on their property tax assessment. And the uniqueness of PACE being able to tie to property taxes allows you to draw out the duration of the loan and get a lower interest rate, which the loan payment will thereby be less than the savings that you're achieving with the project, which makes the project cash flow. But to your question, yeah, commercial PACE has been kind of what PACE has started, and as it's begun to mature, residential has begun to come on, and it's now available in 3 states, in Florida, California, and in Missouri. Our program administrator here in Fayetteville is the same program administrator that just launched the residential program in St. Louis, in St. Louis County, and they're working fast and furious to bring residential PACE to Fayetteville, hopefully by the end of the year.
What's the difference? You're saying, I mean, you're doing it commercially, but not residentially. I don't understand the distinction of, the funding is the same, right? It's just,
It's the projects, so with commercial PACE, large commercial projects, each project is unique, and the funding package and portfolio is specific to that project. And with residential PACE, they're prescribed savings associated with the air conditioning replacement, or with duct sealing, or with so much insulation in the home. So it's a much quicker turnaround for a project with a residential project, like 2 or 3 day turnaround for financing, versus a commercial project might be 6 months or a year to put the whole package of financing together. So there's a lot of pre-work that has to be done to set up the residential program to allow all those prescriptive projects to pass the cost benefit analysis of cash flowing. And so all that work has to be done ahead of time for each one of those types of improvements before the residential program can be launched and moved forward. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, but I'm interested in the nuts and bolts of this.
Sure.
How's it administered? Who's in charge of it? Who makes the decisions as to where the money goes? Or
yeah, ultimately the Energy Improvement District Board, which is made up of citizen representatives from the cities of Fayetteville and Springdale, have ultimate authority over projects that get financed.
Okay.
The day-to-day work happens.
And how's that board created?
There's one member on the board that's nominated by the mayor of Fayetteville, and another member nominated by the mayor of Springdale, and then the other 7 members are nominated by the respective city councils of the 2 cities.
Okay.
So
They're appointed the same. You're the chairman of the board, so to speak?
No, I don't.
Frank Mayfield is the chairman of our board. He's a energy engineer who used to work with Harrison Energy Partners in Springdale, and has 30 plus years in energy efficiency. Sarah Marsh, Alderman Marsh is Councilmember Marsh now.
Yes,
is the mayor's designee on the board.
Okay.
And so they have ultimate authority over projects, but the nuts and bolts of getting projects brought to the board, all the financing setup is done by the program administrator, who the board hired in 2015, 14.
And how's his salary paid?
Pardon me?
How's he paid?
They're paid by a small fee that
It's tacked onto
is tacked onto each
the
project
loan
as part of the
project.
financing. Yeah. And that program administrator was a company by the name of Y-Green, and that's energy spelled backwards.
Okay.
Y-Green. Does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. I
Yeah.
didn't want to dominate things, but I'm real interested in trying to get this started in my part of the world.
That'd be great if you could. I mean, we've been, what else? I'm listening, another thing here. I mean, why don't you go through some of the, our energy action
Sure.
plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully everybody got a copy of this is our 2016 sustainability report card. It's a 2-pager that Just lays out sustainability accomplishments in 7 goal areas. And those areas align with our STAR community assessment, another acronym alert, sustainable tools for assessing and rating communities. Fayetteville is a 3-star community. We were designated 3 stars in 2014, and we'll be going in for recertification, trying to get 4 stars next year. One of the big projects that we're working on in my office right now is our energy action plan, the mayor mentioned a couple of times. In February, the city council passed a resolution requesting the development of the energy action plan. We're about 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way through development of that plan, and the overarching guidance for that plan is an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2050, which aligns with the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Climate Agreement. And the plan has 4 focus areas for reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Those areas are buildings, energy supply, transportation, and waste. The waste goals line up pretty closely with the recycling master plan that the mayor mentioned that was recently adopted in terms of increasing recycling, food waste composting, and construction and demolition waste. Trying to divert more material from landfill and get towards that 40% diversion rate. The transportation goals include reducing the average vehicle miles traveled across the city of Fayetteville, increasing the number of alternative fuel vehicles, including electric vehicles that we have operating on city streets in city of Fayetteville, and then of course active transportation and public transportation, trying to improve walkability, bikeability, and access to public transit in the city of Fayetteville.
Would it be okay if we copy this, put it
Oh,
on our
absolutely.
website?
I can give you if you'll give me your email address, I can give you the link to it. It's on our website, and so you can just.
You get that.
It's okay to go ahead and.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely. I mean, we got it on our website, it's out there in the public to look at.
Yeah. So in
Whatever we
the,
got you can have.
in the energy action plan under the building sector, it's, primarily focusing on energy efficiency, and that the high level goal is to try to get a 3% year-over-year reduction in energy consumption in the city. We'd like to evaluate the feasibility of moving beyond the 2009 energy code that the mayor mentioned to either the 2012 or the 2015 code, which prescribes even higher efficiency for new buildings that are constructed in the city. And then the 4th area is energy supply, which is where the largest portion of our greenhouse gas emissions, about 50%, come from the electricity that the citywide is consumed. And so the primary focus under energy supply, obviously, is moving away from fossil fuel-based electricity to clean, renewable electricity generation. And so we have a goal of transitioning citywide operations to 100% clean energy by 2030. And then we have a goal of transitioning the entire city of Fayetteville to clean, renewable energy by 2050. With an intermediate goal of getting 50% of the city on clean renewables by 2030. And so we're proposing kind of a shotgun approach at doing that. Solar, wind, battery storage, other technologies that may be, coming online very soon. But we're looking at potential for large ground-mounted solar array to offset electricity consumption at our wastewater treatment plants, which are the city's 2 largest energy-consuming facilities. I don't know if you guys have followed at all the recent announcements that SWEPCO has made related to their wind catcher project in the panhandle of Oklahoma that'll bring 1,600 megawatts of electricity to their territory in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, and Texas and Louisiana.
In Glenn, is that part of the power line? Glenn, is that part of the power line?
It's not part of Clean Line, it's part of this other thing that's what goes here.
Clean Line is going to Tennessee Valley Authority, connecting in Memphis. They do have a power line that will come and connect in Tulsa for this particular project, but
the Clean Line, part of their settlement or whatever, to get through Arkansas was to have some of their power.
Yeah,
Convert
station.
to Arkansas, and I didn't know if the city was.
They're gonna drop
Trying to
off
tie
with,
$500.
500 megawatts in around Atkins, Arkansas.
that's all in Entergy's territory. So Entergy does, we don't receive electricity from Entergy, that's more like central Arkansas area, Little Rock, Hot Springs, is their territory, but the wind catcher project from the Panhandle of Oklahoma is 4 times larger than the coal-fired power plant in Gentry. That's up by the Missouri border. So in terms of scale, this is a massive wind project, and they're doing it for economic reasons. The cost of that wind power is 2 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour. And they can't compete with that at a coal-fired power plant or a natural gas power plant. And the reason is because that coal train that brings the coal from Wyoming, or the natural gas pipeline that brings the gas from wherever it's getting fracked at, there's inputs that constantly have to be put into that. And that's the fuel charge that you see on your electric bill. Well, once you got the wind farm built or the solar facility built, the fuel charge essentially goes away. There's just operations and maintenance on the facilities, and so it's really that brought down the price of renewables and has made them much more cost competitive. And so, we've got some work to do with our 2 utility companies. We have Southwestern Electric Power Company and Ozark Electric that provide electricity to the city to put all those pieces together. But the writing's on the wall, and we want to be leaders in this area. The mayor's been on the forefront when the federal government announced the pullout of the Paris Climate Agreement in May?
It was June, I believe.
June? It was June 1st, wasn't it?
I don't remember that.
There was a coalition of cities that wanted to respond with a collective voice to the administration, and we were one of the first 10 cities to sign on to. We are still in saying we should support the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. Now, there's 372 cities across the country that have signed on to that statement, committing to uphold the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. And our Energy Action Plan is our commitment to that. Our commitment to energy efficiency, to renewable energy, to reducing community-wide greenhouse gas emissions, to reducing greenhouse gas emissions that the city government operations emits. And so it's a really exciting time in the arena, and look forward to continuing to work on it with great support from the mayor.
Excellent. Well, we go out to New Mexico quite a bit. Summers have come on Scout Ranch, and that's where we spend a good part of our time. And I can tell you, we go out right now about twice a summer. And I can't tell you what the expansion of the windmills is.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah. It's mostly just along the corridor of I-40, of course, but that's where the access is. And they are always turning. The wind always blows out there. So just watching that expansion has been interesting over the years. I remember, I can almost remember when the first 4 or 5 went up, actually outside a little town of Weatherford. And then they've just been, spreading everywhere, and it's been really something to watch. And that's just I-40, like I said, we haven't been through the Panhandle.
Panhandle of Oklahoma, so
You go 412 to New Mexico, same story. You go I-70 to Colorado, same story. Basically all you gotta get west of the I-35 corridor. And there's wind farms going up all over the place, and that's like 3.5 hours from here. So we're well positioned to connect and tie into that.
As opposed with the coal for the Swiftville plant, as far as I know, is still coming from Wyoming. So yes, that's much.
A couple of trains every day.
Well, I'd like to, before you guys, we started talking about this Ready for 100 stuff a year ago. I remember talking with you at the house party. I remember contacting and meeting Peter over the phone. This is the first time we've actually got to meet face to face, but talking about the possibilities here. And you guys have done a lot of work over the last year to get ready for this, and a lot of cities I've talked to, they don't want to do that kind of work. And I'm just really, I want to be publicly appreciative of where you guys have gotten to over the last year, and really thank you for taking us to cocktail party and talking to us. Something you're going to announce publicly. It's really heartening. So thank you both.
I just read on the Sierra Club's website today, as of last week, there's now 150 cities across the country and 33 states that are signed on to the
33 states
campaign.
Wow.
You guys going to be the first one in Arkansas?
We're the only city that's endorsed the plan so far. We haven't.
We have the skill set.
You get that.
And I was also reading some exciting news in a couple of cities that have actually made it all the way to 100% clean renewable energy, Burlington, Vermont, which is not a surprise, I mean, they're kind of
They've been on the way for a
folks
while.
right there. But another city, what's it called? Georgetown, Texas.
Georgetown,
Which is like
Texas, isn't it?
66,000 people outside of Austin. And, yeah, they have done it and used it as a marketing tool to bring in a lot of clean tech to their community. And then if you guys have heard of Greenberg, Kansas, which is just a little bitty tiny town that was wiped off the map by a tornado in 2007. Yeah, actually drove through there on the way back from the Sierra Club's deal in Colorado, and they got wind farms right in the middle of town. They've got 3 LEED platinum buildings in the community. It's a really amazing
So
story.
they're at 100%?
They are at 100%. Yeah.
If you get a chance to see the new horror movie, the convenient sequel, part of it is profiling Georgetown, Texas.
Oh, really?
And the really interesting part of it is it's a red town in a
Yeah.
red state, and they're all very, very conservative.
Super
folks.
conservative Republican mayor.
And it makes sense, it makes sense.
It's
I
economics.
feel like that's how Greenberg is as well, because
Yeah.
that's the city that DiCaprio did the TV series or whatever documentary series, and it was really
Okay.
interesting. And then I don't think they carried it after a year, and that was sad.
It's,
Yeah, they were a little resistant there.
Yeah, I'll get one last closing thing, if anybody else has any other questions.
So I had a question on the transportation mode split.
Mhm.
Is that the transportation to work, or is it just transportation used overall? And-
So mode share is measured as part of census data, and yeah, what they're asking about as part of the 10-year census is what is your primary transportation mode, either getting to school or to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw worked at home, and I was like, okay. it's
Yeah,
just
so that's,
work.
what it looks at. So, right now, I think we are at a 7.5% combined bike walk mode share, and our goal is to get to 15%, 3 years from now. And then we're also, as part of the Energy Action Plan, trying to get to a 25% bike walk transit mode share, by 2030.
I assume that most of the Northwest Arkansas cities are trying to work towards more public transit.